player will.
Welcome back, Visions fans. Ready Player Will here. It's been a little while, but hopefully a new kind of character review here where I can condense these a lot more going forward. I'm not going to go as in-depth, but still give you all the information I think you need. I don't think I've taken anything out, and I'm using White Lotus Fina for this new type of character review. And so kicking things off, it's all the same info that you're used to seeing. I just won't go in as much depth on each kind of point, but brand new light unit added to the game here with the unique main job of a Lotus Mage. She's got Magi Striker and Red Mage as the sub-jobs, has a bow equipable unit with cloth hats and accessories with a move of 3, jump of 1 as a 100 cost unit, and no doubt a 97 faith unit. Now the max range on her main job is technically 6, but her main passive extends it up to 8, so I would realistically think of the max range as 8 squares away. Only one offensive ability in the main kit. It's one giant diamond AoE. Resistance wise, nothing really stands out here from a weapon type resistance perspective. From an ailment perspective, 50% to blind and berserk. Overall, I think those are okay. They definitely going for more of the accurate side of Fina here, which is atypical for most supports, where they typically make supports rather blind. That is not the case for Fina, and the blind, literally here, pun intended, is part of that. The mastery ability is the cast time reduction, the 10 unit res. They give her some accuracy here on the dream ability as well. And we get into the base stats overall. I'm pretty happy with her as a 4th gen unit. The only thing that stuck out to me here was the base dexterity is rather average, which as a missile unit, that tends to not be the case. They tend to be very high on the base dexterity side, and Fina does not get that same treatment. But overall, the magic stats are very healthy. The HP is a little bit lower than obviously the brawler units that we're used to seeing, but as a support unit, overall, I think this is pretty good. Even the base luck stat, I think, is in a good spot. From a total stat perspective, they kind of made up for the dexterity a little bit on the board here, giving her 80 board points. They did bulk her up a fair bit, though, giving her the HP nodes on here. That seems to be a recurring trend of most more recent units. And agility wise, she is also very fast when you equip those vision cards. That she can get up to that 89 total agility with a passive that I do think you'll have on most of the time, so I would consider her speedy. And then just from other stats, critical hit rate is not actually one of her strong points, despite being a missile oriented unit. Obviously she is a support first and foremost. The crit avoidance rate is a little bit higher than average, but nothing crazy compared to what we've seen as of late. The accuracy, as you can see here in the bottom left, is way above average for most units, not only innately, but her main passive is also 25% agility, so certainly nice to see there. And then the evasion angle, again, right in line with all these more recent high base luck units. She does have some pseudo evade potential, particularly as a light unit, which does have some good evasion oriented cards. And so overall report card, yeah, I'm giving this unit an A. I mean, survivability wise, she's got a lot of good things here with a 2-time 100% damage barrier. We call it a mirage barrier in the game, where you'll take no damage for 2 hits, but you can break that barrier. She's got a honeycomb barrier that is at this point unbreakable in the game, re-raise capable. The damage I don't expect to be anything crazy, because it's not just the penetrations, but really there's so many ways that people mitigate damage nowadays. She really doesn't have anything in her kit to kind of remove any of that, but that's okay. That's obviously not her main role. She is relatively fast. The accuracy is relatively good. The auto ease of use, I think, is very good, where as a support unit, she does kind of function straightforward, that she just looks to heal. She's got a couple buffs she'll attempt to use, but she's got a lot of great utility. She's one of the first anti-curse units we've seen in the game, and that definitely gives her some short-term and some potential long-term value as well. But she's a superb support overall. Definitely a high quality unit. And my general thoughts, really want to focus on the team utility here, where she does give 25 spirit, 25 AoE res, and 20 debuff weakening. Now that can be dispelled, but certainly still a nice buff. She does have protect and shell on her cure ability. Her offensive ability is actually very important for her support as well, where it seals the enemy capability to debuff your unit. So things like healing power down, or any kind of imperil that would amplify damage. And on that ability is 25% CT down as well, so that will help your team a little bit in the turn order. She does have full life as well, and a great manual ability that is a dispel and a null CT use, which for manual players will absolutely love this. And then that limit break, yeah, dispels curse, and it's a 25% physical damage reduction. The honeycomb barrier overall is also a great form of survivability for her, where as a missile unit and as a support, she will tend to be further away from where most of the damage is happening. So that's a distance scaling survivability mechanic that goes very well with her kit. She doesn't require a lot of vision card support as a support unit. Not really known for damage. There's, like I said, many ways to mitigate it in the modern state of the game. Also, great potential here for the cast time down, where she's got 400 innately, 200 on her weapon, and the two of those things together mean she can one-tick her main curative spell. Very, very important. But overall, I think there's a lot of good things to like from her as a support unit. Should you pull, though? My answer is, unfortunately, no at this time. And it's not because she's a bad unit. It's really always more from an economics perspective, where she's a permanent pull unit, so you can get her later, potentially. Shreka and Summer Resnick are both high quality, high meta units that to me are likely more impactful in terms of using your Vizier. If you've already pulled Lucille, you really don't need Fina. They're very different units, but that role is kind of redundant between the two of them. Fina, in my opinion, really is best if you have Cypher and Cloud at the moment, where all the other teams I've seen her in are actually relatively subpar. And it's not a demerit against her, it's just the team building is a little tough. Obviously, her being a bow unit kind of plays into that as well. And there are a lot of Hollow Vision cards coming out soon that I think have way more game impact than you acquiring White Mage Fina. So overall, great unit, but I wouldn't recommend pulling right now. And the passive abilities, that main one here is the range +2. It's the accuracy. I also like the agility passive one. You could play around with the one that has the decreased hate, where I do like that under support to start the battle with negative hate, but I really like the top two there. Her counter ability is a chance to inflict charm on someone, which up to 5 squares away, certainly nice to kind of throw that RNG into the fight where really nobody's gearing against charm, and it's a 50% chance to proc, so even a Truststone will not null that capability. The main job buffs, it's really just the one, and it's got those 3 buffs I mentioned earlier. The re-raise, it's the 2-time 100% damage barrier. That's excellent for the survivability. The curative potential here, she's got 2 technically curative abilities and 1 full life. This giant diamond is the real main ability, but even the secondary one here is a very strong single target heal for 210 modifier that also dispels a handful of status effects for allies, which obviously you love to see, where we've seen a lot of status effects in the game over the last 6 to 8 months. The main job offensive abilities, it's this one singular attack here in the entire kit, but it is a very good one. This is the one that seals enemy capability to debuff your team, also reduces their CT as well. And the limit break is that anti-curse limit break, where it dispels curse before the heal, and then it also reduces damage by 25% for 3 turns. So this is the first kind of mitigation we've had against curse in the game up to this point. We will see more in the future, though. The sub-job is the Lotus Mage. This one's kind of a fun throwback to Dark Fina, where this ability, Dystopia, is the exact same, so kind of an Easter egg there. It's okay, but I don't love it because there's not enough magic res pen or anything like that to really get full value. And the Force Revoke is the high-level manual play that I was talking about that I know JB79 absolutely loves, so I'm also recommending as well. The sub-jobs here, Magi Striker is okay. I like these 2 highlighted abilities. In concept, I don't really know how often they'll be used in practice, though, just because I know she doesn't get that many buffs off, because she does have some good range on her, and teammates will take damage pretty quickly in the fight. The Red Mage also, you have a Suna here, which does technically dispel curse as well, so there is a second way to do so. The fast cast is an honorable mention, but there's so much haste removal in the game and dispel at the moment that I don't think this has the same value as it used to, but still an honorable mention. And the TMR, this is a very niche TMR where this increases range of 1. It is for 4 turns, which is kind of nice, but it's also 25% AoE wide res. It is a cloth, and it's got no agility on it, so I don't love that aspect of it. To me, this is a very niche play for a TMR. I would not pull this character to use this TMR. This is probably just some weird theory craft if you ever were to use it. Now, the job-based vision card eligibility, Bow does have a lot of good cards it can work with, which makes it okay that she's a bow unit, that you can put her in a variety of rainbow-oriented teams. She works very well with Spear, Staff Black Mage, and Katana, but Greatsword and Sword Warrior, ironically, are 2 of her strongest here, just because of the meta that those 2 classes, Greatsword and Sword Warrior, have many of the best characters right now. So even though it's not the strongest vision card synergy, those teams are still very, very good. But overall, the game has done a lot for Bow as of late to add them onto cards. That Fina's definitely seeing some uptick in that right now. Now, for the unique equipment, this bow, I don't think there's a better option than this. This is the magic 30%, the healing power 15, and that decrease of activation time. The accuracy build here, absolutely recommended in my opinion. That, sure, the magic is a little bit lower. No big deal, though. 22 accuracy on this is absolutely enormous. And just for the general optimization, I think the Yoichi bow is really the only other one I'm considering. The other equipments, I think you have a variety of things to choose from. I don't hate the producer's bow tie, quite honestly, if you want to play with that range in terms of limiting her movement by one. I do think there is a pseudo evade angle for her with the winter coat. Obviously, Dark Odin, kind of the same thing here, but really dependent upon what teams you put her in. I don't think that's a popular angle, but it's certainly one that I think has some play at least. But other than that, I think Bahamut, Dark Siren, and Shinryu are the most generically best, unless you're going for some kind of elemental resistance, which is obviously more niche. And Team Mars, I wouldn't even really think about it, quite honestly. I would just go for the highest agility possible. Now, some of my favorite teams, this is actually one of the toughest things about Fina at the moment. Her best team here is the Cypher and Cloud one, and just looking at JP of how they've used her, there's really not a lot of other good teams. In a couple of weeks when Shrek comes out here, this second team is a very popularly used one. And I do like the one where you match her up with two different greatsword units. This is a unit that I do think is technically a rainbow team, but the hesitancy of me listing more teams than this is that I haven't seen the results on JP to say this is a good Guild War team at the moment. I think the Sephiroth Gilgamesh meta is a little too difficult to break through at this point, that you are a little pigeonholed to what you can put her in, but I have no doubt 6 months from now, there's going to be a bunch of new teams that she's very good in. And to be fair, I do think she's very good in mono light teams. If you already have Cloud, you're 2/3 the way there. Could you throw a third light unit in there and have a great mono light team? Absolutely, hands down. I just don't think it's beating any of the meta teams, but that's certainly fine. Not every player has to play the game like that, obviously. And just looking at a sample build to get a snapshot of some of the stats, honestly, I'm pretty happy. This HP of 11,360, pretty darn good for his support here. The magic almost at that 1,600 mark. This is the team that's probably most recommended at the moment because you have that Dark Bahamut to really blend the light and dark team together. Her card that just came out this week also works for both Cloud and Cypher, so they can all get the agility that way. I do have a misprint here. There is no AoE wide res innately to her. This is actually 0. It is not 15, so I'm sorry for that mistake. But 37 unit res and 25 AoE res is very respectable, obviously, but that is kind of the status quo nowadays. But other than that, it's relatively vanilla for what her other stats are here, where there is no kind of chain resistance, there is no innate hate down, there's no debuff weakening. So there are some more modern survivability things that she's lacking, but I think the combination of the Mirage Barrier and the Honeycomb Barrier are more than enough to make up for that. And finally, just the Truststone recommendations. Again, this is mostly skewed by her own weapon being equipped, that you do not need the magic stat or the healing power. The right side here is actually kind of difficult. There really isn't a clear-cut best 6 because she doesn't really need all of them. I do think the missile attack 10 and light attack 10 are definite musts. I think the accuracy of 10 certainly is nice just to throw in there for free. The dexterity of 15% really kind of optional. I don't think that's a must-have. The reaction block rate of 20, though, I do absolutely recommend. She's got none innately in the kit, so you at minimum can get 20 there. And the spirit penetration of 10 is kind of also the status quo. I think these are all 6 good options. It's really the dexterity one that I think is the most optional. And the left side, pretty standard. HP and luck. Go for some element res, go for some status effects, whatever it may be. But that's the White Lotus Fina character review. This is a great unit, quite frankly, but I just don't think it's a good time to pull for her. I do think that there's other kinds of Sephiroth and Gilgamesh counterplay coming into the fold in the next couple of weeks, not only with what Shrek does, but also with Summer Resnick as well, and obviously down the line, I'm sure they have more that's going to constantly evolve the meta. And although White Lotus Fina probably will have some good usage overall as the game continues to go on, probably not the smartest time to invest in her right now, but regardless, those that have pulled her, I'm sure you'll still have some positive results. She's still overall a great character, and that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to y'all later.